So, sir, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Hi, Dr. Saab. How are you? I'm good. I'm good.
I am also good, sir. Going well. So, dear participant, today we have in this session Dr. RK Bhardwaj. He is a librarian in St. Stephen College of Delhi, one of the top ranked college of the country in all the ranking NIRF and all. And he has a very rich experience about research. He is deeply involved in the research because working in such a prestigious college and catering the information need of the students and the teacher, it is a really very challenge. So for this program, we also invited some practitioners. Actually, teaching and research, they are the two-way, teaching and research, and the backside of the teaching and research, it totally depend on the input what we are getting from the library. So sir is a one working professional librarian in that Stephen College. So welcome you, sir, in 6 FIP program. Sir have a very good record of the publishing good journal, good articles in the different international journal. That's why sir is going to talk about the research writing today, that which is the very much relevant for this FIP program. So with this, sir, welcome you, and I am very much thankful you accepted our invitation. Even your college is going to be have a NAC visit very soon. Even then, among your visit schedule, on my request, you accepted. So welcome you, sir. Now I am handing over the session to you for your presentation, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Manoj Kumar Verma, sir. And I'm also thankful to other authorities of HRDC Center and the other higher authorities of the university, Mizoram University. So thank you very much, sir, for giving me this opportunity for sharing my thoughts with the participants. So could I know the participant, is that working teachers
Yeah,
or the
sir, all they are assistant professor working in different colleges. We have represented, they are from belong to the 10 states,
okay.
even Karnataka, West Bengal, Manipur, Nagaland,
Mhm.
Mizoram,
Mhm.
Assam, UP, Rajasthan, Uttarakhand.
All right.
So
Uh-huh.
like this, all the workings, some are, majority of them are working in the, as a college teacher, and many, I mean, around 30% are belong to the university.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So it's a wonderful platform, and once again, thank you very much, sir, for giving me this opportunity. And also thankful to other dignitaries of the universities. Hello, participants. So what I'm going to share with you today is a very practical, actually, which has a very pragmatic implications. So because all of us nowadays are actually rushing to publish their research work, and that's a basically an art. So that what I say, it's an art that all of us need to inculcate to perform better in our field. So whatever field you choose, research writing or whatever subject you are, research writing is very one of the essential component in today's world. So means even if you do good research, but if you're not, and your research is not reaching to the right persons, not publishing in the right journal where the most of the people will read, which actually match your expertise or which match your subject, that whole efforts on doing the research will be wasted. Okay, so, and therefore we need to understand the basics. uh, uh, I will cover only the basics, how you can publish the research in the right journals, and what are the different nuances as a researcher, as a faculty member, or as a future leader of your field need to understand, because these are very small things. And that's one of the very famous quotation is that small things make perfection, and perfection is not a small thing. And that's what we will cover in today's deliberations. It's not a lecture. I'm just going to share my thoughts, and I'm sure many of the things you also know. So collectively, we will make this session better. So at the end of the session, please don't hesitate to raise the points where you have a better understanding or where you have any doubt about the topic which we are covering. Many of the the topic area actually which we will touch upon, you already understand. But still, as I mentioned, small things make perfection, and perfection is not a small thing. So, but we need to have an expertise on each and every aspect of research publishing, and that's why I have chosen this topic. That what are the basics of research writing? What are the basics of academic writing, and how we can publish our research in the top ranked journals of our subject. So that's what we will cover today, and these are the broad area which we are going to emphasize. And the more emphasis will be on a paraphrasing, because when I mentioned that paraphrasing research writing is an art, you also need to understand that what are the basics of that art. Is it that you are writing everything from your own understanding, or you are actually taking from different publication and writing in your own language? So that paraphrasing is one of the very important aspect in academic writing. But if you go back to the various understanding or various quotations of various leading experts, leading writer, they say that if you steal from one author, it is a plagiarism. But if you steal from many, it is considered as research. So research, there are many perception about the research, but as a young researcher or as a young faculty member, you need to understand that you can be a trouble at any time if you are not following the standard guidelines or standard rules and regulation of writing. And in fact, some of the famous author, artists, musicians, politicians, they actually, unknowingly, copied someone else's speech in your own their speech, and there were lots of issues were raised. And in fact, like many famous writer Dan Brown, Alan Helle, who was author of Roots, Andy Warhol, a US artist, they were all actually caught, or they were also actually people raised finger on them for the plagiarism. Okay, in fact, leading figures of worldwide, actually they face some kind of a problem for the plagiarism. They sometimes they use somebody else's statement in their speech or somebody else understanding in their speech, and they didn't mention in the end of their speech that they have taken from somewhere else. So that you need to understand. If you are writing, writing is an art, and if you steal from one author, it is a plagiarism. But if you steal from many, it is a research. But still, there are many aspects that you can be caught in the plagiarism aspect, and that you need to understand. So what is plagiarism? Basic, I will cover in a few seconds. The plagiarism is cutting and pasting from some other studies and paper. And it also means lacking credit from work that other have done. So uh, uh, as per the standard guidelines, you cannot use 5 consecutive words in your writing. Means if you are, as per the UGC regulations on academic integrity, this is 14 consecutive words of a common knowledge are exempted. But in real sense, in the international standards, 5 consecutive words are allowed, but beyond that, actually it's considered as a plagiarism. So that you need to understand, because when we are checking our theses and dissertation for this under this regulations, it is called University Grant Commission, Promotion of Academic Integrity and Prevention of Plagiarism in Higher Educational Institutions. So what we are doing in our institution, we are exempting 14 consecutive words, and we are checking the plagiarism afterwards. But that's not the case. This regulation says the consecutive words should be actually belong to the common knowledge, generic, which are generic in sense. But if you are not using the generic, there should be only 5. So beyond 5, it is considered as a plagiarism. And under this regulation, we have a departmental committees integrity panel. We also have a university integrity panel in the institutions, which actually investigate if somebody has plagiarized or not. And under these regulations, there are basically different, actions can also be taken. These actions are not punitive in nature, but as far the PhD, candidate are concerned, like if there are more than 60% of the plagiarism, then people can be debarred to submit their PhD thesis. But if there is similarities, they're not called plagiarism. If there are similarity in their text or similarity in their content between 14 to 16%, then the submission can be delayed up to 1 year. And if it's between 10 to 14%, then the submission can be delayed up to 6 months. So there are various provisions given in this regulation, and that we also need to consider as a faculty member also, because some of us are doing PhD, some of us are supervising the PhD. So all these nuances we need to understand, that what are the different regulations are in place. For instance, there is a one regulation that's called self-plagiarism. So even if you have published something in the past, you cannot actually include in your current publication without citations. Okay, you can include it with citation, but using the standard rules and regulation which you follow for others. So that also is one of the component of academic writing. You need to understand what is a plagiarism and what is not. In fact, the idea of plagiarism was started that one should not copy the idea of other. So that was the actually basics of having the plagiarism concept. But now when the large number of publications are being published worldwide, in fact, every second there is a publication, it is really difficult to track who has taken idea from which author or from which expert. Okay, so therefore this similarity has come into picture, because we cannot track. There's no mechanism to check the idea is copied or not. Only we can check the similarity in their text, similarity in the images, similarity in the video content. So all kind of a format we can check similarity, and that's a on the basis of similarity we can say that this is a plagiarized or this is not. So that's a the idea was to understand who has copied other idea. But now we have reached to the level of similarity because of the large number of publications being published worldwide. Okay, so there are variety of type of plagiarism. Like for instance, if you are not citing someone else work, we call it a, but you have written in your own language, we call it as a uncited paraphrase plagiarism. So these are the various 6 type of plagiarism popular worldwide. And for instance, the verbatim plagiarism, when you copy word to word, you take one paragraph and copy in your own publication. So that's called verbatim plagiarism. But sometimes you take for one more than one source. You copy one line from one, another line from different article, third line from third article, and then you try to claim in your own. So that's called the mosaic plagiarism, because you have not cited it, you have not written in your own language. Okay, and other thing is, suppose you have taken from the 3 different sources and you have written in your own language, but the content which you have written resemble with the originals. You fail to make it as a new statement, or you fail to make it as a new new writing, or you are not adding value from your own side. So that's called inadequate paraphrase. Means you try to paraphrase but fail to do it adequately because it resembles to the original. So these are the different work. And there are one plagiarism is that a student has conducted a research, but you have published his research work with your own name. So that's called using another student's work. That's also is a plagiarism. For instance, I'm telling you one of the examples of mine. We conducted a study at a master's level with one of my students, and then I submitted a paper in the journal. Uh, Journal, after going through several revisions, it was a very well leading journal in my domain, and the journal, after a few revisions, three revisions, they accepted the article. Then at the end of the publications, they take the signature from all the authors. So we were 3 authors. One was my student, another was my a research associate, and third was me. So we signed, all of 3 us signed the copyright uh, agreement. But suddenly, after 2 3 weeks, we got an email. I got an email that when you submitted a paper, at the initial stage, you were only the author. 2 authors were not there. So that's why at this stage we cannot include 2 other authors' name. But if you wish to publish this article with your own name, you can publish it. But then I suddenly realized that if I publishing that paper, which was the research was conducted by a student, but if I'll publish that paper with my own name, what will it be plagiarism or not? And then I reached to the conclusion that it is also a plagiarism. This is another type of plagiarism. And ultimately, I had to withdraw that paper. So I withdrew that paper and resubmitted to the different journals. So, but if you are following these tactics, in excluding the name of the student and publishing it, that is also considered as a plagiarism. So that these are the basic. So now, how to avoid plagiarism? What should be the strategy? So there are three basic rules that you need to remember. There are, of course, there are different tools and techniques. Technology, ICT tools and techniques are also available to avoid. But three main pillars of avoiding plagiarism is quoting, summarizing, and paraphrasing. So wherever you want to quote, or wherever you have taken the quotation, quote it. Wherever you summarize it, you can summarize, you summarize it and condense in a condensed form and cite it. And then you have to paraphrase it, paraphrase adequately and cite. So these are the three pillars of academic writing, and that's how you can avoid plagiarism, and that you need to remember as a researcher. Uh, these are the following basic strategies. So, what requires citations? See, like nowadays, quotes, when you are quoting, when you are taking information and idea, when you are taking illustration, figures, art, graphics, anything. So, and in fact, the videos, if you are referring the videos, you have taken some idea from the YouTube video, that also you need to cite. So that's a cite. But what is excluding from the citation, that also you need to know. For instance, the common knowledge: sun rises in the east, the Prime Minister of India, Prime Minister of name of the Prime Minister of UK. All this, which is the knowledge which is generic, not generic to the common masses, but the generic to your own subject. So that kind of a knowledge is exemption that you don't need to cite. For instance, I'm giving you an example. While writing an introduction of the one research work, you will find there are certain generic knowledge, which is really generic in sense. And when that statement you are making, that statement no need not require any kind of a citation. So that's a exemptions under the not just the regulation, but in generic when you are writing something. So what are the importance of citation in the research writing? That also you need to understand. The citation helping differentiate new idea with the new one. So when you are actually making an argument that this is the novel work I have done, so how you will reinforce it, how you will showcase that your idea is novel in nature. You will only showcase that this research has been done in the past, and this is the research work which is novel in nature, because no one has touched on this area. So that's why you need citations to demonstrate what has been done in the past and how your idea is actually can be reinforced. That argument can also be sustained when you will cite properly the past research, the cite properly the gaps in the research. So when you are trying to highlight the gaps in the research, you need to cite. Without citing the previous research or the current research, you cannot actually highlight the gaps. And that's what we do in academic writing. We try to find out that what has been done in the past, what is being done today, and what are the actually gaps exist in the literature or in my domain. And that's how you make an argument. So citation also help in reinforcing the argument. It also allows reader to find your sources and conduct additional information. Because like the new researcher, when you finish the research, somebody else would like to start from there where you have finished. So how the other person will get an idea what you have done, what are the different sources you actually consulted. So that citation also help the other researcher, the future researcher, to find out the information you actually consulted while making your own argument. It also maintains ethical research and writing and ensure attribution of ideas and avoiding plagiarism. So these are the basic reasons that's how we cite. So what are the different system of citation exist? So that also you need to understand. And what is the difference between citation, references, and bibliography? So bibliography is some of the things you have consulted, some of the articles you have consulted, but not cited in the text. But in the reference means you have given the list which you have actually cited in your text. So that is the basic difference between the references and the bibliography. And that's why in the research paper, we see references, not the bibliography, because all these references, citation which we given the references are actually included in the text. But in the book, we don't use references, we use bibliography, because some of the citations, some of the articles or some of the books we have consulted, we have read, but not actually referred in our write-ups. So that's a generic difference between these two aspects. And in references, we generally include title of the paper, journal name, volume, issue number, page number. Nowadays, DA also we are going to include in the references. So all these, this is the referencing. So there are two type of referencing system exists. One is parenthetical in nature, another is narrative. So parenthetical means you make a statement, you write in your own language, and then in the quotes, in the brackets, you write actually the references. So here, this is the statement I made. This is my own paper. So I made the statement and then I quote in the end of my statement. But in the narrative form, you actually first give the author name. So that this author has said this. So here you give the author's name with the year of publication and then says that he studied this or he stated this. So these are the two standard exist in the referencing in-text citations, that is parenthetical and then narrative. So the one is called in-text citation, other is a references, which is given in the end. So this is one. And in this in-text citation also, one is Vancouver style, another is Howard style. So so what is Vancouver and one is Howard? And if you are citing more than two authors for one statement, so how you write? What are the different criteria? For instance, you are citing on me for your research work, and I have published two papers in one same year. Then how you will cite? And if you are citing 5 papers of different years, then how you will cite? So there are certain norms that how you will cite. If you are citing papers of one author and the author has published 2 papers in 1 year, so what you will do, you will write A and B so that the reader can distinguish which one you are talking. So if I'm citing one first paper or second paper, which I will give A, so it means in the references you will give with the year of publication A, and in the for the second paper you will write with the year of publication B, means that's the second paper. Apart from that, if you are not comfortable, or if there are things which you cannot give in the references, sometimes you explain your own idea, or sometimes you explain what you have written in the text. So how you write that? Can you include that in the references? No, you cannot include that in the references, because you are here explaining things. You are not citing someone else's ideas. So when you are explaining things, you should write notes, and these generally notes come about the references. Okay, so notes is another concept that also you can include in the academic writing. So if there are multiple citations, like if you are citing for one statement 5 publications, so generally we should use in a chronological order. So latest first and then another one. So that should be, or the oldest first or the latest in there. So whatever style you would like to follow, but they should be in order. And that's how we cite the multiple citations. I hope you got an idea. Anyone has, yeah. And this is, after this, we'll discuss briefly if you have any doubt until now. So there are two systems for the in-text citation. One is a Howard system, another is Vancouver system. So in a Howard system, we are talking about the in-text citations. So in a Howard system, what we do, we make a statement, or we write our own insights, our own thoughts, and then in the circular bracket, we write the citations. So Pradhan and Samantha said this, which is given above. But here, we don't give the author's surname and the year of publication in the text. We only say 1, 2, 3, 4. So here you can see 3, somewhere 3, 4 here. So here above you can see somewhere 1. Here is a 1. So here is a 2. So it means 1 is given in the references. So if you want to know who has given this statement, you just check in the reference at number 1. Who said this? Approximately 30 million people worldwide are blind, and nearly 50 millions are from India. It's not me, it's my paper, but I have not said this. I've taken it from somewhere. So if you want to know who gave this statement, you need to check the second references. So here, I'm not giving the author author name, but and the year of publication. I'm only mentioning 1, 2, and 3. So this style we call it the Vancouver in-text standard. And this is where we give the author's surname and the publication year. That's called the Harvard system. All right. Apart from that, in the citation, we also see IBID, offsite, lock site. So what does it mean? That also you need to understand. So that's IBID means it's a Latin, which means the same. So sometimes you are citing one site reference twice, and that's actually how you will do that in the reference list. Okay, or in the one book you are citing, but one reference is it has a different page number, and the reference is a different page number. So what we will do with that? So you need to write the IBID for that place instead of writing again. That you will only write IBID. It means the fifth reference, suppose, is a Bhardwaj and the title of the journal, and the title of the journal name and the page number. But the second, next one is also the same article. Then you will write the IBID. All right, only the page numbers are changed. And similarly, offsite. What does it mean by offsite? It's given in the reference. Offsite means it is given somewhere up in the list. So there are 5 references I have mentioned. So 6 references is also one among the top 5. So here I will only write Bhardwaj and offsite. Means the same article of Bhardwaj which is given at the top. All right. And similarly, lock site. It means is a footnote and note term used to repeat the title and page number for a given work, not immediately but on the same page. So it means on the same page it's given. All right. So here above 5, if you're mentioning offsite 6, here IBID immediately. So 5 and 6 should be IBID. So you are referring the 5th one. And lock site means you are mentioning the entire page. So there is something somewhere on that page which I'm citing again. So that's a lock site. So these are the things that you need to remember for the citation, and that's very essential for the academic writing. So what are the different tools? Because if you will do all this work manually, it is really a Herculean task. We cannot actually waste a lot of our time. So what you will do, how you will create the references automatically. These are the different tools and technique. Like for example, citation machine. You just give the title of the paper with by author, and the citation machine will create automatically the references for you. Just copy and paste it. Similarly, is an easy bit. So, or Howard generator, MLA reference generator, citation builder pro. All these are very user friendly. You just give the title or with the author name, and then they will create. They will give options. If there are multiple entries exist in the database, they will show 3, 4, 5, and you can choose the right one. Sometimes, title of the paper resembles almost same, but it's a different paper. So then the system will show you multiple entries, and you can choose the right one out of it, and you can copy and paste in your own references. So these are the things. Similarly, how you will check it's a plagiarism or not. Okay, and there are tools exist like Turnitin, copy space, plagiarism detector. All these are actually tools through which you can take the help whether there is similarity in your content or not. So they will actually check from their own database. They will also check from the students database which they have compiled, and they will also check the database of the different publishers. So they have a large knowledge base at their backend, especially the paid tools, subscribe tools, and then they will give you very comprehensive reports. And afterwards, after the report, you can modify your manuscript wherever required, and you can resubmit to these tools, and they will show you less similarity, and you can keep working on that until you achieve the regulation standard, which is 10% similarity. Okay, but there are different tools because large number of when you are writing, especially your thesis, you on an average you consult more than thousands, references, so 1,000 articles and large number of books you consult. So how to manage the entire life cycle of these citations or managing your content which you are going to cite in your publications or in your PhD work. Then there are reference management tools exist where you can actually keep the entire publication which you are, or large number of publications you are going to refer time to time. You can also highlight different paragraphs, you can actually there are a lot of features exist in these reference management systems which you can actually leverage while writing for your PhD work or for your research publications. So they can also be really handy. For instance, like nowadays, you cannot rely on pen drive, especially. So when you are keeping on entire your publication or the paper you are going to refer in the pen drive, sometimes pen drive suddenly stop working. So, but these actually have a different kind of a features, like they also have a cloud versions. So you can keep your entire content on the cloud, and wherever you go, you can access those contents and you can directly start writing. In fact, some of the tools like Mendeley and Jotiro, which I've been exposed to, they are also helping directly with the Word files. So when you are writing with the Word file, you can directly import the references from the clouds. Okay, and you can cite in your references. So MS Office, MS Word, in fact, that are also compatible with these tools, Jotiro and Mendeley. You can simultaneously keep writing and you can instantly prepare references. So they are very user friendly. So those tools also you need to understand. Similarly, Grammarly and all these tools help you to checking your language. But one of the aspects, in fact, is very essential. In fact, now the Chat GPT is also launched, which also can write a paragraph for you. Chat GPT can also write a poem for you, but which is certainly cannot counter, and that is a paraphrasing in your language. Because when this Chat GPT are preparing a paragraph for you, they are not giving references in that. So these references, there have been studies that this Chat GPT is not very efficient in providing the references. They are quite efficient in preparing the paragraphs, which in fact the anti-plagiarism tool cannot check. But as far as the references are concerned, they are not very efficient in preparing the references, and that's why paraphrasing is one such art which is very essential for the academic writing. When you are taking the information from different sources, you need to actually uh, 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 restating of someone else's idea and thoughts and idea in your own words, and you must always cite your source when paraphrasing. Okay, so that one art you need to inculcate as a writer, as a researcher. So what is the difference between quoting and paraphrasing? So quoting means you're directly copying. You're copying one statement and you are actually giving references. But one thing you need to understand, what is the guidelines for the quote? Up to 40 consecutive words, 40 words, up to 40 words you can quote, not beyond that. If you are quoting beyond 40 words, that is also considered as a plagiarism. Okay, so how to quote if you are quoting more than 40 words, that is also you need to understand. And how to paraphrase, so that also we will discuss. So these things you need to remember, how to quote more than 40 words and how to paraphrase, that we will deliberate for the next 10 minutes. Anyway, if you have any idea, any doubt until now, or any questions until now, please don't hesitate to pose. Any one of you have any questions? Hello.
Sir, sir,
Yes, yes, sir.
yeah. Sir, you continue. In the last, we will take up the question and answer.
All right, all right. So phrases can be copied, which are generic from other people papers. In fact, such phrases may even help you to improve language of your paper. It is it is the imagination rather than knowledge that is real sign of intelligence. So uh, uh, Einstein also said that It's an imagination, because when you are paraphrasing, you have to imagine. You have to read the text multiple times, and then you have to imagine. Then you have to add your own insights. So phrases can be copied, which are generic from other people papers. In fact, such phrases may even help you to improve. So try to use phrases in your writing, but when you are actually paraphrasing, try to imagine also that how your imagination, how your own insight can add value to that state. So that is very, very important. So paraphrasing, let me repeat one more time, that paraphrasing means to state something written or spoken in different words, especially in a shorter and simpler form, to make the meaning uh, clearer. Okay, to make the meaning clear. So that's a one thing that you need to understand, that when you are paraphrasing, we actually try to clear several doubts, clear several things, so that people can understand in a better way. That's it. So paraphrasing means expressing someone else's idea in your own voice, while the summarizing means condensing the main idea in your own word, putting the things in nutshells. So summarizing and paraphrasing are also two different things. So in summarizing, we actually try to put things in a nutshell. However, in paraphrasing, we are adding our own statement. We are adding our own insights. So to make the things clear. So these are the two different things. Phrases can be copied, which are generic or improve the language of your paper. So quoting is required uh, uh, when someone sentence doesn't require the understanding of others. So that you need to understand, that when you think it doesn't require any kind of understanding, you have to just like you can simply quote when someone's sentence doesn't require the understanding of others. Okay, like what Mahatma Gandhi has said. So you don't want to explain. Some of the quotes of Mahatma Gandhi are so natural that you no need to explain. So just quote it. Okay, quoting is avoided to make up the bulk of the paper or portion of the paper. So that also you need to remember, that more than 40 consecutive words, if you are quoting, that is also plagiarism, because you are trying to bulk up your paper. It is unacceptable when it is used to avoid the work of putting the idea into your own words. And when quoting the work of third author, cite references to that third author paper. So means when you are quoting, suppose you have referred one paper and that paper has quoted someone else said. So here, not just you have to cite the paper which is original in nature, but when you are taking some idea of explanation given in the end of the quotations, that then you have to write the second paper, so cite second paper also. So here you have to cite two paper. One paper is the original paper where the quotation is given, or the person who has made that statement, and the second is when you are actually taking some explanation from the second paper. So that you need to remember, don't exclude one paper or the original person who made that statement, or the person who has given that quote. That you need to know, that you have to cite both the authors. So some reason for paraphrase is simplify the passage in your writing to maintain flow of writing, because each author has a unique voice. Out of the context and less relevant information removal is also one of the reasons of the paraphrase. So sometimes, uh, somebody has given a one paragraph for one idea. So, and in that paragraph, there's a lot of, unwanted information is given. A lot of ephemeral information, ephemeral kind of information is given, which has no impact. So we try to exclude that information in our state. So out of the context and less relevant information can also be removed when you paraphrase. So paraphrase doesn't mean you are expanding that paragraph or you are expanding that paragraph. Paraphrase also means you are try to write in a less word. You try to explain that idea in a less word. Instead of writing more words, you can also follow the strategy of writing less to explain one idea. It also helps in avoiding the plagiarism, as we already discussed. It also avoiding repetition within the manuscript, avoiding writing words and paraphrase that you are not sure are correct. So when you are actually paraphrasing, one thing you need to make sure, don't use that word and phrases for which you are not sure. You are not sure what does it mean. You are not sure who has given that statement. You are not sure how it has a, if some statement has a multiple meaning and it doesn't suit to the context of your writing, try to avoid those words and paraphrase and phrases. So what should be the strategy of paraphrasing when you write? So you should read the passage until you understand its meaning. So it is also advised, read multiple times. Identify the purpose, connection with objective of the studies. Look away. So when you're writing, you don't look to the original content. Try to look away and imagine and then write. Okay. And then check and cite. Check the wording against the original and then the cite. So that is the strategy. Read, identify the purpose, look away, imagine and write, check and cite should be the strategy of paraphrasing. So one method of paraphrasing is, we call it a grid method. So in the grid method, what we do, we break up ideas. We break up ideas in different paragraphs and we assign different keywords for this. So break up the ideas first on the top, like in a card format, you can follow a card format. First on the top, you write author, title, year, and page number. Of course, the source detail, and then you break up into different ideas, essential detail, and write the keywords for that ideas, and keep writing it. And when you are writing finally your piece of research, take ideas, follow that grid method, follow that strategy, follow that idea and keyword against them, follow that idea and essential detail, and then you can write it. So board has given this grid method of paraphrasing to break that one paragraph into different ideas. Okay, so what are the do's and don'ts of paraphrasing? So read the original text few times. That's a do. Fully understand the meaning, put the reading aside, state in your own words, proofread, revise, and edit are some of the do's of paraphrasing, while there are few don'ts also. Don't do paraphrasing without reading. Don't look the original while writing. Don't change the meaning and don't copy more than 20% of the original language. So these are the few tips, do's and don't of paraphrasing. And you also need to understand that that citations or academic writing, here you are not just uh, you are not just being monitored for your text content. You are being monitored for your other type of content also, which you include in your writing. For instance, the images, for instance, the figures, layouts, for instance, the design, cosmetic changes. You cannot take the image and make a cosmetic changes. You cannot take a figure from internet and make a cosmetic changes, because there are tools in place which can actually verify whether that image or that figure is yours or not. For instance, the tin eye. In the tin eye, you can put the upload the image and it will show you whether it's taken from someone else or not. So it will show you from which URL you have copied it. Even if you have modified it, you have made a cosmetic changes. But there are tools which can showcase, which can actually ring the alarm that you have copied it. So be careful, don't copy it. In fact, the computer codes can also be identified whether you have copied it from somewhere or not. All right. So some of the examples of paraphrasing is uh, uh, this is the statement, like the tortoise is very fond of water, drinking large quantities and wallowing in the mud. So here somebody has written in his own language and he says, I'm quite enamored of water, consuming significant amounts and relaxing in mud. So is it a plagiarism or no? That you have to find out. And as far as the standard tools and techniques and guidelines are concerned, this is considered as a plagiarism because the large number of words are copied from the original one. Only, synonyms are being used. All right. So here is the original and here the paraphrase. Willy Wonka is a legendary fictional character celebrated for his delicious candy. Children and adults adore consuming the imaginative products. Here, however, the paraphrase is Willy Wonka is a popular character from fiction. He is a famous because people of all ages enjoy eating the unusual and tasty candy he made. So here, uh, did you match the source meaning? Did you use your own words? Is it near the same length as original? So all these things should be considered to make a final judgment whether it's a plagiarism or not. So one thing you need to remember that the paraphrased content should not resemble to the original one. It should not use more than 20% of the words which the original statement or original content has used. And the third thing is paraphrasing doesn't mean that you are expanding the content. Sometimes with the less words also you can paraphrase beautifully. All right. All right. So here you have to make a judgment whether it's a plagiarism or not. So here, another thing is we are such stuff as dream are made of, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. So here, see, another thing is the second one, this guy has paraphrased in this way. We are things of dreams, and our small life will end with slumber. So it looks different, isn't it? But as such, it's not different because lots of words he copied from here and there. Lots of words he has copied from here and there. And though it is paraphrase, but there are lots of resemblance. So when there is a resemblance, then it is not paraphrase, it is plagiarism. Okay, but here, see, Shakespeare, we are mortal and will die eventually. So somebody has paraphrased this in only 2 lines. So this is better paraphrase. This we can call it paraphrase. Here, the person has also cited. All right. So that's it. That's how you need to paraphrase. These are some of the examples. Another example, a clear indication of someone's power of intellect is not how much they know, but how well their imagination functions. So see, so this is also actually, it is imagination that knowledge that the real sign of intelligence. Intelligence should be judged in terms of imagination rather than knowledge. So these are actually quite good. Both are quite good. Both are quite good paraphrase in my sense. But this second one, especially it is imagination that the knowledge is the real sign of intelligence. This is a better one. It's a better one. All right. Other is quote directly from other people. So when you are quoting directly from other people, then how you will write? As noted by Wood, the owner of the International Scientific should be international scientist, not Englishman as a maker. So here, there are few things that you no need to paraphrase. For instance, international scientific English. You cannot change it. All right. So these things you should not, even if you are, some statement which is in quotes, you want to paraphrase it. You want to explain it. Something you no need to paraphrase. For instance, the institution name or some generic standard term, standard term. You should not try to paraphrase. And but when you are actually taking some views from different papers and writing a literature, how you should also try to use your own words. For instance, Woods concludes, Wood states. So instead of, like in the original paper it says Wood mentioned, but instead of Wood mentioned you should write Wood concludes, Wood states. So all these things are also very, very important when you are actually paraphrasing. So possible paraphrase. See, here it is important that you understand the work you are using in your writing. But here there are S5 and S6. They also resemble to S4. So these S5 and S6 is not good paraphrase. So that you need to understand because they resemble with the only thing is here they add completely with understand. And here they change the understanding. So continuous, they convert into continuous. So S5 and S6 are also not a paraphrase. So what are the different tools and techniques also exist for the paraphrase? Is it possible to use? So there are some article spinner and rewrite, paraphraser rewords your text, and the grade proof. These are the apps, actually free apps exist, which you can use to paraphrase, you know, and can use in your academic writing. So these apps can help you to some extent, but don't rely fully on these apps. But especially when you are mm, uh, writing a small piece paper, then you can, of course, test these apps, how these works. And they can also give you some kind of a tips how you can actually paraphrase things in your own way. So as you mentioned, quotes are permissible up to 40 words, but how you will quote more than 40 words? Then you have to use three eclipses in the beginning, basically. So when you will use three eclipses in the beginning and you'll give the page number, that's how it means I'm actually citing the entire paragraph. More than 40 words I'm citing, I'm quoting in my text. So you have to put three eclipses in the beginning if you're using in your paper. So things to keep in mind, don't copy and paste, because sometimes we copy and paste from the internet, but that copy and paste has certain links, hyperlinks. So these hyperlink will be identified when the content will reach to the editor. They will figure out that you have copied and pasted because the links are visible. The links are still working. So don't copy and paste. Note-taking system, as we mentioned, the grid system you can follow. Note the citation each time while you're writing. Verify the citation in the reference list and cite everything, including images, news, item, videos, PPTs, quotation, fact, models, everything you need to cite. Other important is use synonyms for all words that are not generic. Changing the structure of the sentence, change clauses to paraphrase and vice versa, and combine and divide sentences as necessary, and also try to change parts of speech, weave the paraphrase into your own essay. So there are few tips, like you can convert active voice to passive voice, or if there's a statement in passive voice, try to convert it to active voice. Now, these are very simple things that you need to know as a academic writer, and try to also use different synonyms in your, try to change part of the speech, and of course, try to add your own insights along with the statement which you copy from different sources. All right. So I will skip something. This will be really, yeah. So single word versus phrases. That also you need to understand as an academic writer. Don't try to use a full statement. Like instead of mentioning what you are doing, it is more clearly mentioned. Okay. So instead of writing a full, it is more clearly mentioned in your text. Try to use only one word, mention, or mentioning, or mention, all these things. So that you need to remember. For instance, it is in the near future. So instead of writing in the near future, you should write soon. It is clear, write clearly, despite of the fact, use although. Fewer in number, write fewer, and of great importance, write important. So don't try to bulk up your paper. Okay, try to use a single word which can actually address your requirement, what you are trying to convey. So that's also one of the art you need to inculcate in academic writing. Paraphrasing the work of a third author. In case another author references the original authors, then discuss the literature, then his personal idea. So as we already discussed this, that not in paraphrasing, not just cite the paper which you are referring, but also cite the original paper which are given in that publications. How not to paraphrase. So this is another example is mm, uh, that this C second and third, this S2. So showed that bilateral vagotomy produce an increasing in the tidal volume. So all three looks like same, isn't it? So look like same. Though they like this is first author and the second author and third author paraphrase, but they look like same. So that also you need to remember how that's how you want it to paraphrase. The key point of paraphrasing is use of synonyms, change the noun to pronoun. That also you can plural to singular or singular to plural. Change the verb from continuous form ing, change the simple to continuous, change of active voice to passive voice, personal to impersonal, reversal of order in which information is presented, and newer paraphrase technical words, noun to work, noun to adjective, noun to another category of noun also can be followed. So this is just basic of paraphrasing. And once you learn the art of paraphrasing, the lots of your problem as an academic writer can be resolved, and you can lead to a reputed writer in your domain. Another thing is, suppose when you have your manuscript is ready. So another challenge with the researcher is where we need to submit that paper. Which one is the right journal to publish that article? Because there is a different art to understand where that paper will suit. Many researchers are very good in writing, but they don't understand where to publish it, where that article, where that manuscript will make an impact. So that's also very essential. For instance, I'm writing a paper, uh, but that paper is only meant for. But that paper is only meant for the students which are studying in the university, the master's program. So what will I do? Will I try to publish that paper in a very reputed high-profile journal, which is not accessible in most of the universities in India, and I'm targeting only the students which are studying in Indian universities in master's program. So will I publish my paper in a high-profile journal, high-impact journal, but my target audience are the master's students which are studying in Indian universities. So that you need to make an in decision where you need to publish your article. So in such case, I would prefer a journal which is actually in open access in nature, but like an average grade, second tier or third tier or fourth tier journal. So that you need to make a decision instead of publishing your article in a high profile journal, but your article is meant only for the students studying in the universities. And so you should keep in mind that the university student have access to that journal first, either through subscribed content. Most of the university are subscribing that journal, or the journal in a open access domain, open access journal. So that's you need to keep in mind. So another thing is afterwards, like you decide that whether it will be open access or the subscribed content, you also need to understand that which journal now. So first of all, you try to figure out that which are the journal which is given in your reference list. Okay, so which is the journal being repeated in your reference list. So if one journal is being repeated in your reference list, we should try to figure out, we try to publish in that journal. So if like one journal has been given in your reference list 5 times, so it means that journal is very important. That journal is being including such kind of article for publication. So one is that criteria. From there, you can identify the right journal. Another is you also should keep in mind that what is the readership of the journal. Is the journal is being read worldwide or not? How many universities are subscribing that journal in print form? How many universities are subscribing that journal in electronic form? So all these should also be a criteria for judging the article. Another thing is, of course, we see what is the impact factor, what is the H index, what are the site score of the journal, whether the journal is being indexed in the major databases, for instance, the citation database, Scopus and Web of Science, or other databases which are popular worldwide. Then what is the frequency? That's also very important. So you want to publish an article as early as possible in the shortest time, because that's a part of your PhD program. It's mandatory to publish 2 papers out of your thesis. So in such a case, instead of publishing a journal which only publish 2 issues in a year, you should try to prefer a journal which has a 6 issue or more, isn't it? Because if it has a 6 issue or more, it will it will publish early compared to the journal which has a 2 issue in a year, isn't it? So that also you need to remember. And what is that, delay period? How much time in the journal is being taken for publishing the research? What is the production quality, printing quality? What are the online platform being used for marketing and other purpose? So all these things you need to consider. Another thing is that all these publisher also has on their website the manuscript matcher. Like if you go to Elsevier, Sage, Springer, all these Nature, all these have a manuscript matcher on their website. And this manuscript matcher will ask you what is the title of your paper, what is the abstract, what are the keywords, and what are the field of research. And when you will click on the submit button, the manuscript matcher of these publisher will suggest you on which journal you can publish your research. So you can also take the help of manuscript matcher available on the platform of these publishers. For instance, for the open access journals, you can also refer this open access journal finder. Open access journal matcher is another free platform you can refer. Find my journals is another. So for the subscribe or for the publisher, like which are proprietary in nature, you can go to their respective website and use their services of manuscript matcher. But for the open access journal, these are the few tools available: open access, open journal matcher, open access journal finder, and open journal matcher, and you can take the help and you can make the decision accordingly. But as far as the you know uh, turning from a beginner in the research publishing to an expert a research writer, you will face lots of challenges. All of them have faced the challenges. In fact, uh, we have read that Nobel laureate has also faced the challenges of rejection of their papers. So what are the different reasons of rejections? Of course, as far as the global south is concerned, we face challenges to publish our paper in a reputed journal, international journals, which are being actually recognized worldwide, and that's one of the reasons that language is one of the barriers. The poor language is they highlight while rejecting the paper. The another is lack of social and practical implication of our studies. Also, the reason given by these editors that our study has not much social and practical implications. Sometimes the study is not organized properly, and that's one of the actually main reason of rejection is we actually sometimes not able to organize our study properly. Outdated studies we cite lots, and that's the editor gives reasons. Duplicate research work is also one of the reasons. Flow of content and not clearly define the aim of the studies are also some of the reasons. And sometimes editor also reject paper at a first hand because it doesn't match with the scope of the journal. So while submitting the paper, you also make sure that it also come under the scope of that journal. So your manuscript and the journal scope should be match with each other. All right. And these are some of the reasons of rejections, and that also you need to keep in mind. So therefore, it is advised when you are submitting the paper to a journal, manuscript to the journal, you make sure what are their instructions for the author. Sometimes the author journal says that you have to submit the figures and images in color. You have to adhere to the word limit. You also have to prepare your paper in a one structured way. You have to write table one colon or table one dot or fig dot or figure full. So all these guidelines of a particular journal you need to address while publishing a manuscript in that journal. Apart from that, there are multiple aspects that you need to write a cover letter. And in that cover letter also, there are certain standards that you need to follow. On what are the different standards of writing the cover letter uh, that you need to learn. So writing a cover letter is also very, very essential. For instance, uh, uh, for instance, give reference to the paper published in the journal. So while writing the cover letter, you can also mention in the cover letter that this article has published one study, similar studies, but that study didn't cover this aspect which we are covering. And that's why our paper deserves to be published in your article, in your journal. So that also you can mention in your cover letter. In fact, you can also mention your cover letter the earliest few studies. You also can mention stately what is the purpose of the studies. Okay, and you can also highlight your abstract should highlight the main finding and strong point of the study in the abstract. So writing an abstract, writing a cover letter, preparing your manuscript as per the guideline instruction of the journal is also one of the essential component to get your manuscript published in the top journals, top tier journals. So what are the standard for writing the cover letter that we will cover now? So when generally I write a cover letter, it has a three components. So first paragraph, a top where I define what is the aim of my study. Then the second paragraph I write what are the major findings. we we have in this manuscript. And the third is, what are the social and practical implication of the research? So these three, if you'll include in your cover letter, then there will be better chances. Of course, you can also highlight in the last paragraph that where's the gap between previous studies and your current studies, fulfill those gaps. Okay, you can also mention the previous study which you published in their journal. So if you write that cover letter in that way, there will be better chances your manuscript get accepted. So while writing the abstract, so writing abstract is also an art, and therefore I emphasize that don't try to use the generic information in the abstract. Try to avoid it. Listen the aim of the study. Okay, so listing the aim of the study is very important. Avoid abbreviations. Limit it within words. As per the format of the journals, you should prepare your manuscript. So within the words also you need to make sure. Otherwise, unnecessarily editor will send you an article back. Yeah, sometimes they send it back after 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and they give only simple one reason, that you have not adhered to the guidelines of the journal and your paper is not within the limits of the journal guidelines. All right. So these are things you need to remember, not just abstract. You should write within the word limit, but also entire manuscript. All right. And don't try to use the abbreviation or generic information in the abstract. Sometimes, you will prepare the abstract in a paragraph form, but the journal says you have to break up. You have to write purpose, you have to write methodology separate, you have to write, social implication, practical implications, and other things in a different paragraphs, different standard and styles. So apart from that, keywords is also very essential. Many of us don't understand the relevance of the keyword. So relevance of the keyword is that you should not give the same keyword which is given on the title of your paper or which has been already mentioned in the abstract. So you should try to use a different words. For instance, I have conducted this study. So the title of the study is this, that availability and preferences for information services to visually impaired territory students in Delhi. So what should I use in the keyword? Will it be like availability, preferences, information services, visually impaired territory students in Delhi? So these can be keywords, 6 keywords. No, don't try to use any word which has been mentioned either in the title or in the abstracts. So what I used, I used blind information sources, assist technology, ISWI, system analysis and design. So most of these keywords are actually unique, which has not given in either in the title or in the abstract. So try to use all 6 unique, which are not given in the content of title, in the words of title, abstract and the title. So structure of manuscript also you need to follow. Generally, a review literature, we write 700 to 900 words. We also write objective of the study, scope of the study, methodology, results within these words limit, and we also include discussion and conclusion. We also write sometimes notes, and then we write references. All right, and we also follow the Venko style sometimes, or sometimes Howard style for the in-text citations. So as per the journal's instructions or guidelines, you need to adhere for preparing your manuscript and then submit it. All right. So I will not take much time now. We have 10 more minutes. So the revision is also important. So when you get a comments for the revision, try to address each and every comment given by the reviewer. So when you submit it to the editor send it to the reviewer, and reviewer gives you comment. So when you are addressing those comments, try to address each and every comment individually. Okay, sometimes for one statement, there are 2 comments are hidden. So break up that statement of the reviewer and try to address address separately that each comment. All right, and then submit it, and then of course, I hope you would be able to successfully publish your paper in the journal. So these are another tools exist for the paraphrasing, and these are Quillbot. You can check it. You can go to Google. So Quillbot is one tool that you can use for the paraphrasing. Then we have a paraphraser site that also you can use for paraphrasing. Then another challenge is that how to make your research visible to the peers. So you can use the platform of like ResearchGate, Academia.edu, Mendeley. You can create your ORCID profile and you can create your Vidwan profile to make your research visible. Of course, Google Scholar profile also you need to create so that people can find your research and they can cite you. So not just the research papers, but also data is also important nowadays. The data can also be cited like your research paper. And for that also you can claim like Google Scholar is including now data citation for creating your H index and IT index. And therefore, it is also advised that share your data with the people in your domain. So share. There are few platforms available which can really help you to preserve not just your archive your data, but also publish your data. For instance, the Figshare, which not just help you to keep your data safe, but also help you in publishing your data by giving DOAIs. So Figshare, Dataverse, Dryad, and Genido, these are the platforms which you can use for archive your data and publish your data so that other people can also see and validate the finding of your research manuscript. Uh, in fact, many editors nowadays, many journals are also asking that along with your manuscript, submit your data set also. So you can submit the DOI from these data repositories. After submitting the data, they will assign the DOIs to your data, and that DOI directly you can submit to the journal while submitting the manuscript. So these can really help you to make your research and data visible to the public and the people in your domain. So with this, thank you very much. If you have uh, any doubt and any questions, please get back to me. You can, this is my email ID, and we will also have 10 more minutes for discussions. But what are what is essential as a researcher? As essential as a researcher is, don't hesitate to pursue the novel ideas. Don't hesitate to take up the new domain, new topics for your research. Because what Mahatma Gandhi said, that many ideas never been initiated because of the fear that they will never be achieved. So that also you need to remember that many ideas never been initiated because of the fear that they will never be achieved, and that you should follow, try to take up new ideas. And it's not a uh, actually research is not a cakewalk for everyone. You have to spend a lot of time. You have to spend your luxury time. You have to forget about luxury time. You have to give you have to put a lot of efforts to turn yourself as a successful researcher. uh, and to be a successful researcher, I can recall one of the quotes of Swami Vivekananda. And Swami Vivekananda said, take up an idea, think of it, dream of it, let your muscle, brain, and every part of your body work according to that idea. And that's how we can achieve success in our research domains. So with these words, thank you, Professor Verma ji, and other authorities of the universities for giving me this opportunity. I also thankful to each one of you participants for patiently listening me, and I would be really happy to receive your answers, your questions, and would try to answer all of those. So, and thank you, Professor Bhartendu Singh sir, for joining us. So over to you, Professor Bhaman. Sir, you are mute.
Unmute.
In bottom, there is a question and answer. In that, some participant they put some question. So
Yes.
either you can open, I can also read. The one is asking how to cite the translations.
Translations, yeah, how to sign the translation. So in for the translation, I think I would recommend, like if you are writing your thesis in the same language, which is the translated one, the second one. So you should try to use the translated one as well as the original one. Both you should try to cite. All right. It's not the, but if you are actually only using that translation work for your speech, then I think you should ideally cite only the original one. So that should be the criteria. Like suppose you have used the Hindi version of one book and you are writing your thesis in Hindi. Okay, so ideally here you should cite the Hindi version as well as the original one. But when you are using the speech, the original one is sufficient. So original one is sufficient. Like if you are giving speech in English and citing that paper, so no need to use the translated one. Try to cite the original one, English version as well, only. So it depends on which, because when you are writing, submitting your thesis in the same language, which is a translated one, here translation also become important. Translation also become important, not just the original one, but the translation one is also important. So both the version should be cited. But if you're writing in another language, the third language if you are citing, then only the original version is sufficient.
Sir, one Santanu Ghosh, he is asking, no, often in Turnitin, we found the common word, verb, preposition, conjunction, and plagiarized from anonymous articles. Should we consider them plagiarism?
No, in Turnitin, there is a provision that in the settings, there is a provision that common words should be excluded. So once you are the person who is checking your manuscript, if you check on that setting, the system automatically will exclude those generic words. But even if plagiarism, all these tools are only the technology, only the platform. The final judgment has to be made by your supervisor or the person with which you are doing research, or you are publishing. If you are publishing individually, you have to make your own decision whether it's a plagiarize or not. Sometimes system will showcase like it's a 20% of the plagiarism, especially for the scientific information, because lots of words in scientific knowledge cannot be changed. They will remain in your manuscript. They will exist in the domain, public domain. So, but the system will showcase 20% of the plagiarism. So in that case, we have to make our own decision whether it's a plagiarize or not.
Yeah. Sir, again, Santanu Ghosh put one question. We usually find 4 type of the journal in JCR, like Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. So often good journal with low citation come under Q3, and often average multidisciplinary journal with high citation come under Q1. What will be my choice to pick up the right journal? Will be based on the quarterly rank or journal quality?
This is a very interesting question actually. So there is no certain answer to this question, because here nowadays journal is become less important. Important is your article, because when as a reader I search for the content, I hardly go by the journal website. I only use either the search system, discovery system, or the search engine, and then I get an article. So first thing, while publishing an article, you should try to understand what is the accessibility of your article will be. That is significantly important. But of course, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 are also very important. So when you are starting publish, if you are a beginner, if you have just started publishing your research, I will advise you that try to publish in a top tier journal, because then your reputation will be established. But once you are an established researcher, you can publish anywhere. Then your article is more important rather than the journal where you are going to publish. Okay, and these top 2 and top 3, this tier system actually include many aspects. And one of the aspects is the site score they include. So on the basis of the site score, in site score, how many article one journal publish? That is also, like suppose one journal publish 6 issue in a year. So it has a more article. Of course, it will have a more citation as well. And there will be better chances that journal will go into the tier 1. Because if publish more article, it has a more citation in their account. So there are better chances that they will be considered as a tier 1. So, but as a researcher, that should not be a criteria. So you need to figure out what is your target audience, to whom you are targeting, whether that journal is accessible to those people or not. So that should be your prime concern. But if you are a beginner, you are going to establish yourself as a researcher, then you should, of course, you should prefer Q1, Q2 criteria, because the people in your domain, your peer will recognize you more when you will publish in a high impact journals first.
Yeah, sir.
Somebody asked, Tanushri, kindly suggest an open access plagiarism checker. I already discussed it in one of the slides. If you have noticed that I mentioned few tools which are actually can be used for a plagiarism checker, which are free in domain. But do remember one thing: there is no free plagiarism tools will not work for checking plagiarism, because lots of there's a these anti-plagiarism tools which are paid one. For instance, Turnitin and the Urkun, we call it original. These pay lots of charges to the publisher. They have an agreement with the publisher. These publisher, even if their journal issues are not published, they give access to these tools. So the knowledge base these subscribe tool has, they cannot match with the open access contents, open access tools, or free tools, I should say. So therefore, it is always as advised that try to use these well-established tools, because they have a large knowledge base at their backend. And when they give a report, they are very comprehensive in nature. However, the free tools only use the free information, public domain information, and then they give the results. And therefore, there's a huge differentiation between the report of free tools and the paid tools. So paid tool might show you 10-50% of the plagiarism for your manuscript, but the free tools will show you only 5 or 10% of the similarity. So these things are very important. You need to figure out that what kind of a knowledge base that tool is being used, and accordingly make a decision. But there are tools exist. I already showed you in the beginning, and these tools are, for instance, I can tell you from my slides.
Yeah, sir, one last question I will take up because our next speaker already joined. So, sir, one Vijay Lakshmi, she is asking, is data become redundant in social sciences when people get to revision? How to deal with this? In social sciences, when they get revision, he is saying our data many times change. So, how to deal this?
Redundancy, you means outdated or something else? I think outdated means that's the only solution is publish as early as possible. Yeah. But also, remember one thing, sometimes your data never become redundant, even if you publish your research after 5 years, 6 years. But you need to analyze your data from different dimensions. So, and that dimension, you need to ascertain what are the gaps exist in the literature. So if you are able to figure out what are the gaps exist in the literature, even if you publish your paper after 5 years of collecting the data, or 7 years after collecting the data, it remain important. It remain relevant to the domain. So, but only thing is figuring out from which dimension you are analyzing your data. And of course, to avoid this redundancy, that's why it is advised to publish as early as possible in social sciences. And not in social sciences, but in other domains. So sciences, in fact, is become redundant much early than social sciences. But the dimension, identifying the gap while analyzing the data is much more important than anything else.
Yeah, sir. Thank you, sir. Now I think we should stop here. So thank you so much, Dr. RK Bhardwaj, sir, for giving your valuable time and very informative lecture, for useful for all the people. Nowadays, we are facing a lot of issue and problem with plagiarism and difficulties to publishing the paper. Many times, all we are facing, in our field also, we are eyewitness. Many times 7 months, 8 months, reviewer is taking a lot of time. So thank you so much, Professor Dr. RK Bhardwaj, for your valuable time and sharing your experience with us and with our participant. Sir, with this, sir, you may leave now. My office will contact you, sir, for the other formality.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And thank you to Dr. Professor Rajesh Singh as well. Thank you to each one of you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, dear participant, now the next speaker already joined with us, Dr. Rajesh Singh Kushwaha ji. Dr. Rajesh Kumar Kushwaha ji, Associate Professor in IIMC, the highest apex